Hi there, and welcome to the Call to Cinema. My name is Aaron. I'm here with my co-host Malcolm, and we're going to be talking about these Halloween timelines. We're going to be doing it for the next 6 days on the regular channel, and on the seventh day we don't rest. On the seventh day, we go over to Patreon and we rank the timelines in the way that we like them. We don't know each other's rankings. We don't even know what each other is going to say, but each timeline as we go through. With that being said, like, share, subscribe, join the Patreon to see that seventh video amongst the other stuff that's coming up, because we've got a lot of stuff coming up this month. The Halloween horror challenges are a lot of fun. And I had one thing when we came to do this, and Malcolm knows this, is that when we were going to look at the zombie Halloween films, because we are both haters of these films overall. We were.
Definitely.
Because what I did, and I think what you did too, is when we looked at this, we looked at the original Halloween and our experiences with that film, and we compared it with this film. But
Which we didn't do this time.
Which we did not do. No, what we did, and one of the things that I said right out of the gate is like, let's watch these as their own films and see how these stand up on their own. And
that's what we've done, isn't it? Really.
It is what we've done. And here it is right here, the first Halloween one. I chose to watch the director's cut because that is, that's closest to his vision. Although his vision is a bit compromised, as we know, for the first Halloween film. One thing I got to say out of the gate, Malcolm, before you get into this, is what a cast!
Like, oh yeah. It's funny you say it, because I was thinking about that when I was watching the film. I was like, you've got all these people popping in, like Sid Haig, Ken Ferrer, all these people, even in smaller roles, but they make the film so much better because they're all underappreciated talent in 2007, when they're all big talent in like the 80s.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Rob Zombie is definitely a guy that's a horror fan, and he's a guy that pays it forward, because when he finally got the chance to make movies, he looked at the people that he idolized, people that he looked up to, the people that he watched movies of, and he gave them jobs when they weren't getting jobs, and it was a shame that they weren't. Because I'm just going to list off like a cast list here, guys. So it is Taylor Compton, Malcolm McDowell, Tyler Mane, Brad Dourif, newcomer Dave Ferrick, Sherry Moon Zombie. We'll talk about that actually. William Forsythe, Richard Lynch, Udo Kier, Clint Howard, Danny Trejo. We got Tom Towles here, Bill Moseley, Leslie Easterbrook, Danielle Harris, Skylar Gisondo, before he did anything, actually, playing Tommy. We got Hannah Hall here, Christina Klebb. By the way, Christina Klebb and Scout Taylor Compton recently kind of reunited for voice acting work in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game.
Oh, cool.
Because Christina Klebb plays Sissy, and Scout Taylor Compton plays the female victim character.
Yeah.
And there's like Daryl Sabara from, of course, Spy Kids, Ken Foray, Sybil Danning, Mickey Dolenz, Daniel Roebuck, Sid Haig. There's just a ton of people. You could go on.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy. If you looked at all their filmographies, you'd see all these epic movies you remember from back in the day,
And I'm going to let you have the first say when it comes to this year, because I really want your thoughts on this film going into this time.
All right. So going in, I did as you said, what worked for you, which we said a minute ago. I went in it as its own thing. And I still don't like the beginning very much, with the whole kind of like trailer trash, aggressive, bullying family element. I don't really like that, because I feel like that is still a kind of stereotype. Do you know what I mean? But if I'm taking it separate, at least it's different. Do you know what I mean? At least it's different. And I love William Forsythe in it how he talks. I love that bit at the table. I love how he's constantly just being abusive. It's so funny because it suits him, Look, the kid's good. I like the kid. I thought the kid was great. I like the kind of, look, he's killing these animals, and I want to know how he got those pictures. Like, they had these big pictures, right, in the principal's office. I want to know how he got them developed without being fake, because they weren't Polaroids.
Yeah, that's, I mean, like, unless he, like, I would say more than likely, if, back in that day for that size school, there could have been like, what you have, like, a dark
You
room.
mean like a photo room?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, but surely that would have been monitored.
not necessarily. I mean, like when I went to, I know I was in college, so I wanted to do journalism. I did photography, and but actually, even a dark room is not hard to do. You can set one up in your house, like pretty
Hmm.
simple. I know. And this is a kid that was not being watched, obviously, not
Yeah.
well. So could I see him like giving him some things, or him like stealing some chemicals and stuff for a dark room? It'd be pretty easy to
Fair
do.
enough. Fair enough. It just seemed a little bit strange, you know?
It is, yeah.
I loved the bit when they pulled the dead animal out of his backpack as well. I was laughing at that. And I really love when they're in the office and he gets up to leave. And as he goes to leave, the theme starts playing, you
The
know?
theme song,
And
yeah.
then you see these moments outside of him kind of watching that kid, the kid who bullied him.
Daryl Sabera
And
from the
I
Spike.
I really love those shots because they were very homage to how Michael was in the originals. The standing there and all this as the kid, and then when he just beats him to death and goes home and does what he needs to do to the thing. Obviously, I don't want to spoil the whole thing, do I? But
Well,
he basically.
2007, you probably can if you want to.
Oh, so we can. Okay, so we can go through it like this then. So he goes home, right? And he ties William Forsythe up with duct tape, right?
Yeah, Red Green's favorite thing.
Right? Yeah, all the way round. And I'm like, how the hell did he not wake up from that?
Well, I think it's been pretty much
Because
established that at this point, like he's like uh,
a drunk.
a drunk, and not just a drunk, but he's hurt his leg, so he's probably abusing painkillers too. So
Yeah.
that's the way I.
Okay, so that makes sense. That makes sense. So he does that. He slits his throat. He kills the boyfriend of his sister, See, this is the bit. Another bit I never liked, right? In this movie, and I still,
Yeah,
is the boyfriend basically puts on the Halloween mask, Michael Myers mask, and wants to have sex with his girlfriend, and then Michael basically kills him and takes the mask, and that bit's fine, right? And when he touches her leg, because at this point you know that Michael's a little bit of a little pervert, and you hope for more of that, right? But then she spots him, and she's going, "What are you doing, Michael?" And then he stabs her, right, and kills her. I like the idea that he finds the mask later on, especially considering as a kid when he's in in the mental hospital. But he's making all these different masks out of paper and everything. It
yeah,
would have been nice if it had kept it at that, and then when he got out, he found the Michael Myers mask. Like, here's what I want. That would have been a little bit better, I think, in that thing instead of that. But what I will say as well on this bit, because I know you might want to talk a bit about this bit as well, is I like the bit where he goes to see his baby sister, right? And you think, oh God, what's he gonna do, right? But he takes her outside and he's sitting with her, right? Which shows he's got love for the little baby, right? And that comes back later in the movie, right? And I like that. So, what did you think about the first part with him as a kid?
So the first time that I watched this film, I wasn't a big, I was a very big, a vocal like hater. I found it very different this time when I watched the film. Um, I initially, when I saw this movie, wasn't big in the nature versus nurture aspect
Mm,
of what they're doing. I'm like, okay, this is why.
yeah,
But as I went through, I think there's a lot less of this is why than I realized initially.
yeah,
I liked I really like Dag Ferrick, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, uh, because there was just he could do the it could be annoying, but he could do that like kind of he was like a real kid. He came
yeah. He had
across
that
like
look as
a
well
real kid.
of being abused. You could see it in the eyes, which was,
It
you know,
was crazy good, and he could when you had to be evil, like he could be evil, but I kind of wish that they would have shown more of the William Forsythe's murder
mm,
because they talk about the fact that his throat was slit, he was like stabbed 17 times,
yeah,
um, but I love the opening aspect of it. I uh, I won't get into it, but I took the pictures of the dead animals to mean something that he was doing something with those pictures, like untowards.
A bit of
Um,
this, guys. A bit of this.
this is on the regular channel, so but it's yeah, for that I was good. I like Shaman Zombie. I really did like her in this. I think that she epitomizes, like, met so many like people that are like this, are these type of relationships, and she does it so well. Like, people always rag on her for, oh, she gets it because of her husband, or he puts her in everything, and yes, he does. But you know what? She can act,
Yeah.
especially in this. She's really freaking good in this movie.
Yeah.
My heart breaks for her because, and what I really hated the first time I watched the film, the love hurt scene, because
Yeah.
basically there's a sequence where he's after he's gone trick or treating Izone, and he's sitting on the steps, and he's got like a little bit of candy, and it's going between him sitting on the steps and his mom, like
Dancing.
stripping. His mom's a stripper, and earlier on there'd been a bullying sequence with two bullies and him in a
Yeah, them saying all those
there,
sorts of
and he shows
disgusting things like, if we pay her, will she do this and do that?
yeah, I think that this was it for him. Like, this was the point. This was the breaking point. Where he, like, anything that was left to him kind of just stopped, pretty much stopped existing
Yeah.
for him. And he did what he thought he had to do. I loved the murders in this part of it. I didn't like at all the Halloween mask being used earlier.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought the second that he put it on as a kid, it took me out of it because it looked
Yeah.
funny. It looked kind of hilarious because it was like Michael Myers after
Yeah.
put in the wash. You know, he shrunk. So that, like, took away from the bit of the scare aspect because it was going really, really good. The clown mask was creepy.
Yeah.
It was well done. The death throes of the boyfriend was really good. And I think what's neat to see here is, although he kind of protects Angel, his sister, uh, I'm not quite sure where he was going with this because, as we'll get into in a little bit, um, he's not he's not the good, even with the murders, people that he thinks deserved it. He's still not the good guy that you would assume he is, because he does things that puts that into question. At the beginning of the film, you look like, okay, well, he saved his sister, he didn't kill her,
Yeah.
so maybe there's a vestige of goodness still left with Michael, and maybe there was at that point. And we'll come back around to that by the end of the film. Uh, but I kind of feel that as it goes through, we kind of see that bleed out. I
Yeah.
really like I really like Matt McDowell a lot more this time than I did originally. But he was one of the few parts that I liked when I initially watched this film.
Yeah.
I think that he got a much better. As much as I love Donald Pleasance, and I think he's fantastic in the role of Sam Loomis, I do think that we get a much bigger arc, like story arc,
Yeah.
for Sam Loomis in this movie than we get through
Well, I
all
mean,
the.
after Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2,
Yeah,
uh, uh, Dr. Loomis just seems to be completely insane when he's doing stuff.
he's going
Like,
like more
you
insane.
know,
So there's not a
and
lot of
you
like.
when you watch him and you're like, this is kind of like comedy watching him on the screen, because he's just totally losing it all the time.
Yeah, and he's always
So,
kind of the best part of that film. We'll get into those like
yeah.
later on. But for Malcolm McDowell, and he comes in looking very different, and I love this choice that we get to see him looking different. We don't get to see him come in with the beard and goatee type thing, and like he's looking like Sam Loomis. He looks very much like of that age and of that era, and the way that he would look. So we get like a scene between him and Sherry Moon Zombie and Richard Lynch, by the way, as the principal. Gotta love that, right? Um,
Yeah.
and such it's a small scene, but it's such an important scene. I do think that playing the Halloween music where they played it didn't make much sense to me at the
Yeah.
beginning. But I still had issues with this portion of the film. There were certain things that I liked. The mask took me out of it a bit. Playing the Halloween theme at the wrong time, because I really do think it was the wrong time. But I
Yeah.
loved the way that Day kind of played
The
with
better
this role.
time to probably play the theme was when he was killing the kid.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I felt kind of bad because I remember watching Halloween, like, was it 20 years later, the documentary, and there
Yeah.
in it there was like this girl, and they did a contest. I'm not sure if you remember this or not. Did a contest for somebody to have a part in the next Halloween film.
Yeah.
See anything you like. She won. But I think her scene was cut out. But because she actually, I think she did have a small scene in the film. Um, but and I loved, and we'll get to this now, and I'll let you go over with this too. I absolutely adored everything about the asylum scenes.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too, actually.
as-
Most of it, except for, because
except for
obviously on the director's cut,
the
there's that
escape scene.
horrible bit. Yeah. I
What was that?
really,
What was
because
that?
obviously
Like, let's speak of that for a second. That is like, we'll go back to the kid part in a second. What the hell? What the hell was that escape scene? Like, one,
I was gone.
I never bought this character at all. I never bought this character. He made no sense. I've met guys that are, and I'm sure you have, like, that that their mouth is bigger than what they
Yeah.
can buy. But this scene was insane. Like, literally, if they bring in, like, this girl would come in and they do something bad to the girl in
Well,
Michael's
first they try and get Michael to, don't they?
yeah, but
And he's
Michael's
like just focusing on his masks.
yeah, and like, it's not like he's the savior or anything like that. No, they start messing with his mess, which is what makes him turn around and finally just notice him. It was like the theatrical cut, which I'll mention here, had a much better, like, escape scene. And that's the one with
Yeah.
Leslie Easterbrook. At least Leslie Easterbrook, I don't think, is in the director's cut of the film because
I
she
will
played.
say this. I will say this about that saying. I'm kind of glad that's not in the original, original like theatrical one, because I think I would watch the theatrical one just to avoid that saying, because it felt so brutal. And I
It
don't mean the
does.
Michael Myers stuff.
No, it takes you out of the movie because there's no need for it, and it really is like, because you're watching this, and up to this point, we've gotten like a lot of pathos. We've gotten like these characters. They've grown. Unfortunately, the unfortunate fate of Mrs. Myers.
Yeah.
That, and the Sybil Danning
That's
playing
the
just
most. That's one of the
bitches.
most disturbing moments. When that happens.
It is. It is really, and that's, trigger warning for people to watch that movie. There's like a disturbing sequence in that film, apart from the horror. But Sybil Danning, just the bitchiest nurse, just the bitchiest
Yeah.
nurse. Uh, didn't deserve that, but she does that Sybil Danning thing that she does, and even as dressed as a nurse, like she's still sexy. I will say she's still sexy. But yeah, I love the scenes. I love the way he's kind of like regressing, and we're seeing him like
Yeah.
use the mask more and more, and how he basically says, "I don't. I'm using the mask to hide my ugliness." And Sherman Zombie, his mom, she's like, "Oh, don't say that, Michael. You're not
Well, we're
ugly."
going back to him as a kid now, aren't we? We
Yeah,
need to tell people that we're going back to him as a kid right now, because we did
because he
jump
doesn't
it
talk so much.
ahead a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Well, it goes from what do you call it, doesn't it? Because just to interject and put what I was going to say in, I really like the Dr. Loomis scenes with Michael, as well as the the mum ones,
yeah,
because I really feel like each time they're actually connections. Like the bit where Michael says to Dr. Loomis, "I want to go home," and he goes, "I know," and he hugs him. And he tries
yeah,
to get him to come out, and he actually genuinely cares about him in this movie.
he
And you
doesn't takes
really
him
feel
outside.
that in the mental in the asylum, right? But you slowly see these videos of him getting more and more distant with these different masks, to the point where even when his mum says to him, "Take that mask off, please, Michael," she lifts it off. He goes, "Put the mask down. Put the mask back down. Put the mask back down," and doesn't want to say anything.
Yeah. And you can even see like the point where it goes from this kind of like almost like a fatherly type relationship to where near the end, Loomis is frustrated.
Yeah.
And watching this again, it made me understand what we're going to talk about a little bit later in the second part a bit more.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Loomis, this wasn't like Loomis was trying. I felt like Loomis was like,
Yeah.
like the speech in the original film, and I hate, like, I don't, because I don't want to compare, but still, it was always like, once I saw that he was evil, I tried to keep him locked up so that nobody, like, this is not this Loomis. Like, this
No.
Loomis 100% is doing his damnedest to make Michael, give Michael like the best life that he can. And it's neat because we get Loomis and we get like I gotta look up Sherman Zombie's character's name because I can't remember right now. Deborah Myers. So Deborah Myers.
I like it. I love it called Sherry Sherman.
And we also we get like Danny Trejo's character. Like he's the
can I talk about this?
Sure.
So Danny Trejo's character, right, is really nice to Michael. And I didn't really see that in the director's cut, but you see that more in the standard cut. It's really friendly and he's really, what do you call it? So he comes in and everybody in the asylum's killed, right? Except for, I'm guessing, that woman, because he just left, right? And he goes, "Oh, Michael, you scared me, right? I need to get you back into your, back in your room, right?" So Michael puts his arms out like this, and as he's about to put handcuffs on, he starts throwing him around.
Yeah.
And starts killing him. I do love the touching moments of it when his head gets pulled out of the water. It goes, "I was good to you, Mikey," and just as he's about to finish it, his head's back in there, like, yeah, he don't care,
He doesn't.
I really like that.
That's the thing. That's what I wanted to actually kind of talk about. We get the progression of Myers through this one, and through these three characters. I think we really get through the eyes of these three characters too, as not we just because once he shuts down, then we gotta get the sounding board somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's through Loomis, it's through Deborah, and it's through Danny Trejo's character. And I think Danny Trejo's character is a defining moment in this film because everybody else at the point we have seen it have been people we can say, yeah, they probably deserved it. We don't know like the other prison guys or anything like that, but we assume.
He's an innocent, really. He's an innocent, kind, probably father guy who just works there cleaning.
Yeah, and he's like, and you can tell he's like that at this point they're letting us know, yeah, Michael's gone. Michael is gone.
Yeah.
And the escape happens, and we get the hilarious scene with Joe Grizzly, which is still weird, but I didn't mind it. It always has that thing that they do in every movie is where they go to use the washroom and inexplicably get up without using toilet paper. That always bothers me, man. That always bothers me, Malcolm.
I love he pulled out a massive knife and he went, you don't know what's going to happen. You know what I'm going to do to you. And he just looks at him like, oh, before, it happens.
I'm going to say that as much as I love a lot of the physicality of Tyler Mane in this movie, that wasn't my Gag was my favorite part of Michael in this film. And I do think that it's not sometimes like the physical it's brutal and it's different and it took me a while to get used to.
Yeah.
But there's times when I feel like he's just walking.
Yeah.
When he should be
especially in the second one.
Yeah. Which we'll get to actually. But when in this one here, when he's just when he's just walking, what's a normal
Yeah.
But no, so we get the he escapes and then it becomes Halloween, like pretty much a lot of what we've seen before. But with more of a modern twist. So we get Scout Taylor Compton in the role of Laurie Strode, and
we have to be honest, she talks about bagels like this and all that at the beginning.
It is so good.
So we know she's going to be good.
She is so good in this movie. I really, really totally fell in love with her character. She was so good.
Yeah.
Dee Wallace as the mom was great. The guy that played the dad normally plays bad guys, so it was really weird seeing him as in a good guy role, as a dad role. So yeah, because look him up. He normally does like bad guy roles in movies.
And we also meet Danielle Harris, don't we, as Annie Brackett, and we meet the other one who plays
as Linda.
Yeah.
And I kind of gave her a bit of a hard like ranking before, up against like PJ Souls, but in this movie, like these three have chemistry and they look and talk like friends. And people say, well, and I have said before, people being me, that Rob Zombie can't write dialogue. But yeah, when the girls are talking, yeah, I've heard I've heard people talk like that. I've heard teenagers talk like that.
It depends where
Obviously,
you are, really, doesn't it? Everybody talks
it does.
differently in different areas.
And that's the thing that you gotta take into it too. But they got like people that like really and bring Danielle Harris back. She played Jamie Lloyd in the original series. She got a crappy ending. She went and got emancipated, and after that, they short shifted her on the mount and didn't cast her in the movie, even after her emancipation. But so it was nice to see him come back and give her a good role. Annie is a great role, and with Annie, of course, comes one of the best parts of this movie, Brad Dourif as Sheriff
Brackett.
And he is so good. It is so easy to see what a great actor Dourif is.
Yeah.
And how much we can.
I think sometimes people forget, they're so used to Chucky where he's doing the voice, but it's hard to remember sometimes how emotional he can be and how we can do these real facial expressions and really make you think about his character. And what I like about Chef Brackett in this movie, unlike the other one, because you don't really see him in the other ones that much, right, on a personal level. In this, he's constantly in the movie, interacting with Annie, interacting with Laurie and that. And you generally can feel that he's a really kind, caring father who really just wants to protect the kids of the community, But you got to remember as well, also in that scene, when they're walking down the road, they see Michael for the first time, looking at them, and go, oh, look at this, and he walks off, and then Chef Brackett comes in the car and picks up Annie before driving off.
Yeah, and Linda does not like cops. So you find out in that scene. I did like the rest of the film because to clear up my thoughts on the first one, so we can get into the second one. Is I liked the rest of this movie. I enjoyed the ending sequence. There is an alternate ending which sucks really badly because it totally takes everything else away from Brackett and I'm going to mention it right now, actually. I'm going to go right to there's an alternate ending, and in the alternate ending, the Michael lets Laurie go, and then Sheriff Brackett shoots at Michael, and everybody shoots at Michael. But we see Sheriff Brackett, which would, as we find out from later on, would not happen. And from everything we've learned with Sheriff Brackett before, he's not a trigger-happy cop. But in that other ending, he comes off as one. And really bothered me when I watched the alternate ending to this film. But I mean, overall, the film itself, I really enjoyed the murders. I was heartbroken when the mom and dad died because I really liked them. I didn't get enough of them, but what I got of them, I'm like, oh, they're cool characters. They're fun. They're
they're like real parents.
Yeah, and I thought Linda was typically kind of a bit of more the bitch character that Annie kind of was in the original.
Yeah.
But Annie's she's a good friend to Laurie, and Laurie's, and people say, well,
Laurie's always calling her baby constantly. Baby. I was like, what's going on with this?
And Laurie's nice. I mean, Laurie's good. People say, well, no, they've ruined Laurie. They made Laurie no, Laurie's still the good girl. She's still the one that takes the kids in. She's still the one that does the babysitting when the other ones are going off doing what they're going to do. And it's, I liked the ending. I thought there was ending went on maybe a beat too long. Because I like that aspect into the pool where they're in the drug pool, and he shoots.
Then the car was a bit too much.
Yeah, and and I love that scene. And she's like, "Was that the boogeyman?" He's like, "As a matter of fact, I think it was." And then
that's the bit where he should have driven off and then done the,
The reason that he didn't do that because I did watch like some of the documentary and stuff, was basically that Rob Zombie felt that was wrong to have introduced her so late in the film and then not let her be part of her own film, to empower her character by letting
Yeah.
her save herself. So
Well, you do feel in this film that it's majority from Michael Myers' point of view in the scenes. You kind of get that feeling, for the most part. And I will say this, to Phil, Michael Myers in this is more active, while I say like the way he moves than he does in the original ones. Because in the original ones, I feel like they're more atmospheric and a lot more like suspenseful and more, especially the earlier ones, because you really feel like he's stalking and he's, basically making them pray. As in this, it feels like he's going around and just going to stab him or kill him after he does what he does, Like, I'll give you an example. One of the scenes, which is taken from the first movie, is when the boyfriend gets stuck to the wall, the knife.
Yeah.
I really felt like in this one, it wasn't as effective or meaningful as in the first one. I'm just saying it's because basically they're, the same kind of scene. And it just didn't feel the same because there was all that lead up to it in the original and there was this great atmosphere, As in this one, it just felt like grab him, hold him on the wall,
I think that when this falls apart a bit for me, and I'm probably the same for you too, if you can let me know if I'm speaking out of turn for you, is when it's like seems shot for shot, in a way. When any time that this movie does its own thing is when it really shines.
Yeah, it's that moment when they do the things that are shot for shot that you go, oh yeah, it's a remake. As before then, if you didn't, you would be like, oh, it's his own thing constantly. And I will say this as well. I think Dr. Loomis in this film is brilliant. I really do. I like the character. I like how he generally cares, generally wants to stop things, how he really tries to protect, Laurie. And another thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the scene where Michael basically attacks Annie and takes Laurie, right? And he's got her like trapped in this room thing, right? It looks like a pit, right?
Yeah.
Where doesn't it? It looks like a pit thing underground. So he gets down on he puts his knife down, gets on his knees, pulls out a picture of is it the mother and her, or is it him and her?
Him and her, like, because the mother that's the picture the mother brought in during the Sybil Danning scene.
That's right. It's the picture of him and his sister, and she goes, "I don't understand. I don't understand." Right? And he's just going like this, and he's got his head down. And obviously, let's be honest, if you feel like you're kidnapped and you've seen this person gutting and killing your friends, you're not going to think, you're going to think this person's crazy, but that probably isn't anything to do with you.
Of course.
So she grabs hold of the knife and she stabs him and runs off. At that point, it's like, I have to kill her now, right? And all this. And you're like, yeah, maybe if you just opened your mouth, since you took your mask off and said, you're my sister. But even if he did do that, it wouldn't matter because she saw what he did to Annie.
Yeah, she would believe him. Like, who's going to, like, one, she has no reason to believe she's adopted. She has no reason to believe that this is her brother. It makes perfect sense. And I think we've already seen, like, Michael regress to the point where he's not going to speak unless, like, he really, like, Michael speaks less and less as the movie goes on, and till he just doesn't speak, and not because he can't speak, or not because like in the original series where basically he's just he doesn't speak type thing. It's just he doesn't need to. None of the scenes are kind of required, and he because there's no like speak damn you speak, like we'll get into in another timeline. What
did you think? What did you think of the bit with Laurie where she lands on him outside with the gun?
I really like that sequence. I mean, it got me because here's the thing. Like, it's click, 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 and he kind of puts his hand up, and it leaves it open to interpretation because I wasn't quite sure. And I think it was meant to be this way. And you can let me know if you got this too. If it's him putting his hand up to move the gun away or to put it at his head or to steady it so that
Mm.
she can kill him. And I think that he wanted to die. Now, obviously, that's
Yeah, because
not.
he could have just bounced her off, couldn't he? Really, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think like when he puts his hand up, he does like because he could knock her off, he could do anything, but he doesn't. He puts his hand up like kind of where the gun's at. And I
Yeah.
thought, I said, "Oh, wow." And that hit me so hard this time. So when the movie is over, Malcolm, I'll say right now, like I had a much different experience than I had any other time, like
Well,
watching this
I'll
film.
give you an honest opinion. I originally rated this at 1.5 stars because I hated it in the cinema, and watching it the way we said we would watch it this time, I gave it a 3 because I could see a lot more to it. The filming as well is really good. The cinematography really works well. The angles, everything. And it really works well in the second movie as well. The shots. At some points, they feel a little bit Twin Peaksy, the way it's filmed.
Yes, and another thing I have to say is you really hated Dr. Loomis before
Yeah.
you watched this again. Like we talked about it. Like you were out and out like against
Yeah,
Malcolm.
and then I
McDowell's
realised, I'm going to be honest with you, then I realised I'd mixed this up with another one.
All right. Speaking of another one, let's dive into the
Let's
sequel.
do it. Come on, guys.
Family is Forever, Halloween 2. So by the way, my score is 4 out of 5 now.
Nice.
I really enjoyed it a lot more. I look forward to going back and checking it out again sometime. Though I think for me, I will go the theatrical cut route. I think that's the better
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah, because I will
However,
say this. I will say this about that Halloween. That scene. I was watching that scene when Donna walked in, and she was like, "What are you watching?" And I'm watching Halloween, and she went,
that always happens. That's the worst thing. Like you've been watching a movie with like just flowers and roses, and all of a sudden, one sex scene, one nasty scene will
"Yeah,
happen. Somebody walk in.
yeah."
The time.
Even if they don't live with you, they'll come off the street and just walk in.
What the hell are you watching, man? But no, like theatrical cut is the better cut of this film. I did watch the theatrical cut too.
Mm.
I didn't ask you to watch the theatrical cut because I didn't think it was fair, but I did. I watched both cuts of the film. But same with this one here, and I will say right now, director's cut is definitely the better cut for part two. Again, we got like cast wise, we got a lot of the same people coming back. Carolyn Williams has a scene of this, which I didn't notice the first time I watched this.
Is that the one? Is that the one from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2?
Yeah, she's the doctor.
Yeah, and Margot Kidder's in it as well, which was really surprising.
She's good on it too. Richard Brake has got a thankless role in this movie. And Dayton Cali, who always reminds me of he looks so much like the guy from Law and Order SVU.
Mm.
He plays the other like paramedics guy. And
Yeah.
the first time I saw him, I thought it was the guy from Law and Order SVU, the lieutenant.
Well, it's funny you say that because I thought that guy was an English actor because I watched a film recently that was a foot soldier one. He looked identical to the villain in that, and it wasn't.
But they do. They got a lot of great cast here as well. Octavia Spencer has a small role in the film. As you mentioned, Margot Kidder, Howard Hessman, an actor I grew up watching, is in this one too. Betsy Rue, who did stuff like she had a lot of she had a lot of sexy roles. She was in the movie My Bloody Valentine. She was the one does the big nude scene with the trucker.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, and like there's a good cast overall. We get Weird Al Yankovic, and
I love that. I love that scene. That seems hilarious.
It's so different. So with that being said, and Sean Whalen, but what's your thoughts on the follow up?
I thought it was terrible, to be honest. Not all of it. But I didn't like how Dr. Loomis had changed so much into basically this selfish, greedy, self-centered thing. Now I get why to a degree because you think about it, he failed in his eyes, and he's like, I need to profit off this to make myself look good, because of his career. but it just comes off as horrible, right? Laurie in this is just a squealing mess, and in some ways, it's more realistic because you think about the trauma she's been through, what she's seen her friend go through. She would have these issues, but every time she turns into a real, real piece of, it just really annoyed me. Like when she'd ever go at Annie, or she'd ever go at Chef Brackett, or she'd be going around going, "Oh yeah, let's party," and all this. It felt so weird and so, I don't know, out of place. If I'd have just seen the scenes where she was in the psychiatrist office struggling, I think I would have believed that more and felt that more. But it just felt like she was acting like, the whole world revolved around her, and she was going on about it. Now, at this point, what we need to remember is there are reasons for this. Because she finds out as well that the book has her picture in it as Michael's sister, right?
Yeah.
So she actually probably found out for the first time from that, right? Possibly from how she responded, because Chef Brackett hadn't told her. Annie Brackett didn't know, right?
No,
Do you know what I mean? So the thing, but if you go beforehand, before that scene, you just go, "God, she's unbearable. She's annoying. She's frustrating to deal with." Now, Sheriff Brackett, on the other hand, even better.
Like, for me, I got to say this now. It makes no sense that she found out when the book was already out.
Yeah.
Don't you have to you can get sued and stuff. That seemed like an odd choice. I kind of get why they do it, but it didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Let me just finish this bit quickly. Chef Brackett, even better in this movie, right? You really sympathise with him. You really feel his energy as a father more than as a police officer, right? Because he's constantly calling Annie, make sure she's okay. It's constantly like, "Where's Laurie?" He puts the man outside the house, another police officer to protect, which he knows what's going to happen there because, we've seen it multiple times in these kind of movies. But Chef Brackett, wonderful. Annie Brackett, heart of gold, right? Was so sad when she, notices Michael and that happens. That was gutting. And the other thing is, what is it with Michael Myers and wanting Annie Brackett naked? Constantly,
Well,
so it's well, I get it, but I mean, come on, he likes her naked, covered in blood, But I didn't like the new characters as much. I felt like they were just filler, like filler kills. The two friends she has at the shop, and I didn't like the fact that Michael just walks throughout the whole movie, and people will pull up next to him and threaten him, and he'll kill them. Or he'll walk into a bar and kill them. And the other thing I really, really hated, and I've said this before, is actually another thing is they didn't use the same boy, right? They used a different boy, right? It looks nothing like him.
You couldn't.
Right? Of course, right? Because it was like 2 years later. But what I'm saying is they used a different boy, right? And the whole what's their name? The mum's name?
Deborah Myers?
Deborah Myers. The whole Deborah Myers talking to him, and the little Michael responding was quite effective of the little Michael responding, but it felt like so much. And then at the end, where the kid's holding Laurie, it just starts to become a bit silly at that point because it makes you feel like you'd get it if they were in his head, but the fact that they're holding her as well and talking to her at this point seems ridiculous, because you're like, she's not going through his mindset. She doesn't even know those people as her family, right? So why would she feel that?
Here's the thing, and I like this movie a lot more than you did this time around, because this was the one that I hated the most when I initially saw it. Because of the fact that they did a lot of things. They were able to make their own film. There's a lot of things that I think work better, and there's some things.
Of course, it makes it more unique in its own way. Yeah.
Now, I do think that Loomis's change doesn't come out of nowhere. We do see in the first film him lecturing about
sure,
about Myers, and I think that for Loomis, this new kind of that's the old Loomis. Get that picture. This is me now. I don't want to show the old Loomis.
Reinvented.
it's a defense mechanism for a guy that's one
We'll
for
say
partially
this:
a guy that failed, and
was
for a guy that,
oh,
like just to basically uh, has become, there's been a bit of bravado to what he's done as well, and it has kind of like it has affected.
well, it's
It's-
like the way he comes onto women in the film as well. You know, it's like he's trying to be a new man in a way and trying to be more successful and not as much of a failure.
well, it
And
seems like a
instead, it
guy
comes
that
off a
like
bit more, you know.
no, you're 100% right. It seems like a guy that is pretending to be something that he's not, and we don't get enough of him to totally see that. But I 100% like agree that like that's what he's doing. I don't think like
Yeah.
he's become this dickhead just out and out. I
I know,
think that
yeah.
he's still Loomis. It's just like he was hurt. He's in the first film. He spent so many years trying to do like trying to like to work with Michael. He did everything. He hugged Michael. He brought Michael outside. He tried everything that he could. And at the end of the day, a murderous rampage went throughout a city, and people blamed him. Uh, he
And
got blamed.
don't forget he almost lost his eyes in the first movie to him.
Yeah, I mean, like
Oscar.
that's gotta mess up. Yeah, so we get to see like the way trauma like affects people in different ways. Loomis, it makes him harder, more cynical. It makes him like try to become a person that he thinks that he should be, as opposed to the person that he is. With Lori,
Mm,
she kind of becomes Michael. We get we s- and it starts with she has visions of killing Annie. Uh, she starts to she has a Charles Manson poster in her room. She becomes very different every time she sees Annie. For her, and as she mentions in the film, she
it's a
sees the
reminder.
scar. It's a reminder of like what happened, and for her, it's her fault. Like, and at this point, she doesn't know that she's Angel Myers, but to her, it's still her fault. She's the one that saw him at the window first. She's the one that he followed. Like, and her friends, one of her friends died because of it. Her other friend
Yeah.
was horribly scarred because her parents aren't around. Um, so she has this mess of guilt. And one thing I got to agree with you on is that the secondary characters really are secondary characters in this
Yeah.
one. I wasn't as big on the rabbit and red scene as well. I thought that could have been taken out, and I totally wouldn't have
Yeah.
missed it at all. Although I do love seeing Daniel Roebuck in any film.
Of course, yeah.
It just was it seemed much like the same way where they had and this is not like a scene like the scene in the asylum in the director's cut, but it seemed as kind of extraneous as that sequence.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, with all the other like there was some great construction in this
Mm,
film. Uh, I like the way that they were going with Lori, and this is a character she's freaking annoying at points where
yeah.
you're like, and I think this was the only time that when I watched it, and I watched it so many times, that oh my god, what she's really annoying me. They're like, what the hell is wrong? And all of a sudden I thought back to that like I can't hear you scene from the first film.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, that's the correlation. Um, that's Michael. That's what she's becoming. There was obviously the connection there. Like she could when he ate the dog, like she got sick, and um, which would kind of it's a nod to parts 4 and 5,
Yeah.
like everything. But which I don't think was needed. Be, here's the thing. One of the thoughts for this film, and I still kind of think that it could work, is that Michael's dead. Michael's dead. He's dead. And Laurie's doing it all.
That is more believable when you think about it.
Because the way the murders are done, the way things, we see Michael through the eyes of a kid, and the thing
The
comes.
thing is, no one else talks about Michael in the film. I mean, it's they do, but no one sees him.
Well, the kid sees him and the mom sees him, but like again, we see like a big what looks like a big homeless dude, is what we see. But for me, like the murders, um, it's like Michael never came back. It's like she could have done all of this, and by the end of the film, like they do make it kind of seem like she's been killed, but I never took it like that. I again, I took it like, oh, like she's, the mantle's passed, basically. If
Okay,
they'd done
so
a third
you
film,
don't put, so you don't think she's dead. So at the end, when she's shot all those times, right, in that silly maid outfit, right,
yeah.
and you see that long white corridor, like room thing, and there's no doors anywhere there. There's not a single door there, right? And then you see her face, and it's completely pale white, and she smiles because she sees her mum with the horse.
She slowly
You
smiles, yeah.
don't think that's mum basically coming to get her so they can go together?
So you mean to heaven or hell or whatever?
Well, yeah, wherever.
No, I
Because
mean,
when you
like
look at
I
that scene,
like
because there's no way you'd be in a room that long.
no, but that's not. But that's we're not seeing. Like if we go on the concept, the conceit that she's done a lot of this, if not all, right?
Yeah.
Then the same as high tension. When we see sequences in the film, some of the sequences that we see in high tension are seen through an unstable narrator.
Oh, I see. So you're saying it's for her mind.
Yeah, like so. Now again, like I'm not saying that's what happened or anything like that. I'm just saying like it's definitely there's a way that you can
I
see that.
think I think that ending is something that could be taken in many different ways, to be
It
honest.
is. That was meant to be
You
like that.
know, yeah. And the movie is I actually rated the movie less this time than I had the first time.
What'd you rate it this time?
Originally I gave it a 2 and this time I gave it a 1.
See, I gave this a 3.5. I really did enjoy this movie. Here's the thing, like with all the flaws that the movie had, and we had a lot of flaws, but and we'll get
It
into
was
the
its
other
own
timeline.
thing which made it different.
But here's the thing, we'll get into the other timelines, and there are other films that are much more regarded than this film, and they have just as many flaws that we're going to go through. Uh, but you have fun with them because of the movies that they are, and or maybe because they have a certain actress or they're a certain timeline type thing. That we give them a bit more of like give them a bit more of a pass, and I
Mm.
think that's kind of part of it here. Like some people don't like that Michael screams die. I didn't like that. I thought didn't need it. I get it, but I think it wasn't needed.
And I don't like
Um,
the whole homeless thing where he lets people beat him up and then he puts the mask on and he's possessed, so he kills.
but that makes sense. I mean, like it made sense for the entirety of the film. Here's the thing that didn't make sense to me because like and you just pointed out there. So he basically every in the first film when he puts on, he's going to kill when he puts on the mask. From the very first murder that he does at the beginning of
Mm.
the film with the bully, is the bully's like, please don't stop, please
Yeah,
stop. And he looks at him, he pulls up the mask for a second, then he pulls it down and he kills, right?
yeah,
And that's what we see throughout the rest of that film. That's been established throughout the next film as well. Like the mask is eroded, but when he'll put the mask
yeah.
down, like he'll kill. So why and in what universe does Michael Myers come out maskless, speak, and kill Dr. Loomis?
Yeah, that's true.
That took me so out of the film because this like that it's been established that
Maybe the meaning of that was the fact that Dr. Loomis saw him as a boy without the mask many times, right? So maybe it was supposed to be a more personal thing to Michael to basically look at him in the eyes when he's killing him, right? With him seeing his face because he blames Dr. Loomis to a degree for him being in the asylum all those years because he said to him multiple times as kid in the other film, when can I leave? When can I leave? And he goes, maybe soon, Michael. And he goes, no, Michael, you can't leave. So it might be a more personal thing for him,
that's
but it still doesn't make sense.
that's a good point. I actually brought up something that actually may actually kind of make it make sense.
Hmm.
Thank you. Because here's the thing. We've seen him with the mask on kill over and over again. when he kills Loomis, and I think he knows he's going to die.
And it's the only person that's really personal to him.
Yeah, that throughout the first film, like when he asks about the murders, I don't know. I wasn't out there. I don't know what happened. This is the first time. Wow. Okay. Yeah, he makes sense, Malcolm. This is him finally taking ownership of all the shit that's happened.
Yeah.
And because it's over. There's no reason to hide. There's no more masks to hide behind. Oh wow, we've unlocked it.
Well, not the theory.
I love this theory. This actually makes me like it more. Here, 4. Because that was the thing that knocked it a half point down. So I'm going to give it a 4. I really am.
Oh, nice.
Because here's the thing. There's a lot of things that don't work in this film, but there's just as many things that do work. And when it works, it doesn't just work. It works freaking well.
Oh, sure, yeah.
At the beginning of this film is brilliant. Urban Legend, When a Stranger Calls, are 2 movies. When you think of them, you think of their opening sequences, and the opening sequences could be like many movies on their own. You can watch them on their own. The opening sequence to this movie here, man, you can watch this on its own. What a great scene. Like, you get people that don't like the rest of this movie, and they will say, man, if this whole movie would have been like that hospital scene, I would have loved it. I can't count how many people have said that don't like this film. That sequence works there on its own. And as much as Laurie and Loomis have changed, watching it over again and going through the different cuts and that, they're changed to make more sense. I love the Annie thing. It broke my heart. And the fact that they used footage of her as a kid. Oh, man. Oh,
that was heartbreaking.
That hit me, man. Malcolm, when I was watching it, that really, I was like, I'm not crying. You're crying. It hit me.
And that look Annie gives him when she notices him is there, like all that horror came back to her in that moment.
It does. And even though
that pure cold look where she's just like, and it feels so real.
And he goes out to find Michael. And even then, even when he finds him, even when like Laurie's coming out and he's like, stand down, he's still the good guy. He's still the dad. He wants to help Laurie. Like he's still the good guy. Like,
well, in that moment, if Laurie is killed, let's say Laurie's killed, right?
Yeah.
Then that means Chef Brackett lost everything that he cared about, but was in his life at that point, because, he was looking after Laurie, he was looking after Annie, and they were kind of like his 2 teenagers in a way, that he had. I mean, Annie was obviously his daughter, but it was kind of like that. So if she died in that scene, he lost more than just some friend of Annie's being shot. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. But here's the thing: you could have blamed her. Like at the end of the day, he saved her. He could have blamed himself. He could have blamed her, because that.
Oh, and he took her, didn't he? He took her to the place to get adopted as well.
He did.
So he had so much of a personal. Yeah.
He said he didn't want her hanging over her head, so he left her out of the report and brought her to a hospital. So yeah, overall, I had a much better time. I think people are going to be shocked when they watch this, because they know my thoughts on these films previously. They know your thoughts on these films previously. Obviously, you didn't like this one as much as I did. I think this one will be fun to go back and watch. Like, it's going to be a fun watch.
I'll be honest, it was good. It was a lot better watching it after watching the first film.
It is.
The other thing I want to say quickly is the most horrifying thing about these movies is that they were released in August in the cinema when they're called Halloween.
Because of Saw. Because back in the day, Saw was the October film, which is such a waste.
How can you have films called Halloween and have them in August?
Let's take 1 second before we end this off, because I'm going to end this off now, because we almost got an hour in here, to know that there was going to be a third film. It wasn't going to be done by Rob Zombie. It was going to be done by Patrick Lussier, who did My Bloody Valentine. He was one of the editors for like Wes Craven for a lot of his movies. And it was written by Todd Farmer, who wrote My Bloody Valentine remake, among other films like Drive Angry. And it was going to be in 3D, and it was going to have Michael going back to the asylum, getting Laurie, and there's going to be like another lead character, and Brackett was going to die, and it was a bit of a mess. Like, maybe what we'll do another time, Malcolm, is we'll talk about some of the movies that didn't get made, because
Sure, that sounds great.
Yeah. So with
That sounds
that being
great.
said, guys, I want to thank you, Malcolm, for coming in here. We are going to be back doing
Yep.
Halloween 3. How is Halloween 3 a timeline? You're going to have to come back and watch and find out. How does one movie make a timeline? That's what we're going to get into tomorrow, right here in the Cottle Cinema. Have a great day, guys. Happy
Look forward to
Halloween.
seeing you next time, guys.